What if you experienced every human life in history? That is the title of the video we are reacting to today, done by Ted Ed. I think it's fun just to pose these strange questions sometimes. I think, by exploring them, we can pull out, new understandings of who we are. So
it's fodder, it's grist for the mill.
All right, anyway, guys, won't keep you waiting. Let's get into it.
Imagine that your life began roughly 300,000 years ago as one of the planet's first humans. At this time, you live in Africa, near modern-day Morocco, and your life isn't too different from that of your hominid parents. You make crude tools, hunt, and gather food and materials until, eventually, you perish. But this is only the beginning, because after dying, you travel back in time to be reincarnated as the second human ever to live. While you don't remember your former life, your previous actions affect you nonetheless. And after dying once more, you return as the third person, then the fourth, the fifth, and so on, living the lives of every single human that's ever walked the earth. Strung end to end, these lives last almost 4 trillion years. Since you only recall the life you're currently living, your psyche doesn't carry the entire weight of human history. However, each of your lifetimes still has a profound impact on your future selves. Sometimes your influence on the world is obvious, but these major historical figures only account for a tiny fraction of your experience. Instead, your existence consists mostly of ordinary lives, filled with everyday tasks like eating, laughing, working, and worrying. For approximately 1/10 of your 4 trillion years, you're a hunter-gatherer. For 60%, you're an agriculturalist, developing tools and techniques which you employ over roughly 800 billion years of working on farms. Across your lifetimes, you spend 1.5 billion years having sex and another 250 million years giving birth. In total, 20% of your existence is spent raising children, to whom you impart a variety of cultural values that influence the trajectory of generations. In some lives, you shatter those cultures through invasion and imperialism. In others, you suffer as your lands and loved ones are taken away. In over 1% of lives, you're afflicted with malaria or smallpox, while in others, you treat these conditions, saving countless versions of yourself. In humanity's early days, the average lifespan is fairly short. There are fewer lives to live, and your influence is usually limited to people physically near you. But as humans survive longer on average and Earth's population grows, you start to spend more time reliving the same action-packed years. A full third of your existence comes after 1200 CE, and a quarter of it takes place after 1750. At this point, technology and society start changing faster than ever. You invent steam engines, configure factories, and generate electricity, which power the daily machinery of all of your later lives. You live through revolutions in science, the deadliest wars in history, and dramatic environmental destruction. On average, each new life lasts longer, but the pace of your existence keeps accelerating. Conversations that previously took months to unfold now happen in minutes. Business ventures that you built over generations transform overnight. You enjoy luxuries you never could have sampled before, even in your past lives as kings and queens. After living over 100 billion lives, you're finally reborn as the youngest person alive today. But despite living through 300,000 years of human history, your actions have more impact today than 99% of your past lives. High-speed air travel allows you to carry contagions and cures across an ocean in hours, and the internet makes your personal sphere of influence global, allowing you to collaborate with anyone, anywhere, without even leaving your home. In recent lives, you've invented tools to rewrite the genes of living organisms, permanently altering their future generations. And in this life, you might create even more technologies that make the world safer, kinder, and more equitable for countless future lives. However, one careless invention could just as easily be catastrophic. Between nuclear weapons, lab leaks, climate change, and other existential threats, humanity's risk of inducing our own extinction has never been higher. In this fast-paced, interconnected world, it's frighteningly easy to undo all of humanity's progress, or potentially cut short all your possible futures. There's no way to know what will happen next, but what's clear is that your potential is limitless.
It seems like the best dream you'll ever have and the worst nightmare you'll ever have all at the same time, if you could remember going through that process. But hey, in the spiritual community, if we are all the all-prevailing consciousness of everything, isn't that exactly what's actually happening? Mm-hmm. At all times, every life and every infinite possibility, but not just human, every atom, every animal, everything happening all at the same time.
As conceptualized by human minds.
Yeah.
As like put into symbols and stuff from human synapse.
Yeah.
Conceptions in the mind from that perspective. Interesting. I like the idea of considering future generations, and I like the idea of thinking about how your actions will affect future people. And there was a lot of interesting things to like think about in there, to like sit and ruminate. What if, and all this stuff, and and your genetic code does carry a long history and all this stuff, right? But there's a area to be careful in, just like they showed in the cartoon there. They make the meat slaughter free, and then it turns into a crazy octopus.
Yeah.
I feel like Osho's coming to mind right now, and I feel like he would give some kind of a warning of like, just don't go thinking like, it's one thing to be considerate of your grandchildren and your grandchildren's children, but don't go like believing you have the answer for them, like that what's best for them to gonna be, because far enough down the thing, it started off with like a half monkey humanoid.
Yeah. And
then it evolved into a human. So what's to come after us? Their values might be so different from ours, whatever is distant from us. Like, you can't, everything's in flux. Everything's changing and warping and morphing and adapting and changing.
Which gets me thinking about how different, just like what we can see through generations, how much they've changed, from boomer to Gen X to millennial to like our kids. They're already so different. It's
their values. They've got all kinds of certainties we didn't have, and they're sussing out things that are relatively new. And there's a way of looking at flowers and bees, and this is, again, to reiterate, this is all human symbolism and conception.
Yeah.
It's like there's all kinds of creatures. There's tiny creatures and large creatures. Like apparently elephants are pretty damn smart. They're so big. They're so different from us, but you look in their eyes, is there a soul in there? Is there like consciousness in there too, looking at you? Don't get too tied to the human story, I would say. If part of this is the eternal living on through all these iterations and all these different things. What if it kind of is just doing its thing? What if you could get super hyper grounded in the present? You know what I mean? Like, what happens if it's, well, I'm gonna be discarded like a bodysuit, and this thing's gonna go on. So what of this life that I am actually living right now? I won't be there to see my grandchildren's children's children's children. It'll be like a different person that doesn't remember me being me.
Well, maybe in a way you won't, and you will.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know. Whatever the thing, whatever is you, will somehow be there.
Well, is it there now?
Yeah, maybe it never leaves. Maybe it's just
so.
The thing
So
that's
what is
there.
so what is that part? Like, I doubt it's got like a narrative. I doubt it's got like words to say. But what is the eternal part of you? Is the eternal part of you attached to such concepts? I mean, look at all the things it's done already. The eternal part of you is already an ape. Who knows what it's going to be in the future? Maybe it'll be some giant sky crab. What of you now, though? Right?
Yeah.
Like in the present moment?
Yeah,
Isn't that like the most pressing thing?
I'm the isness that's here.
It's the most pressing thing.
The isness.
Yeah, because you're not like caught in a bear trap or something. You're just here.
Does it freak you out to like you'll be the isness that will be, you know, both the robber and the one getting robbed in every situation?
Well, that is the case.
Yeah.
That is the case. That is what's ising.
Some people might freak out on that, but anyway, we're rambling, so we'll end it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I like this video. It was well done. If you like the reaction, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share us with a friend, and everyone until next time,
Stay spiritual.